welcome to The Journey, a podcast to help you be the very best parent you can be. We are thrilled you are here and that we get to do life together. We are here to serve your family, and we're thankful you're joining us on The Journey.
Parents, welcome back to The Journey. This is going to be week 2 of a really powerful conversation with our upper school counselor, Erin Williams, about a very, very powerful and fascinating book called Never Enough by Jennifer Wallace. Week 1, you want to go back and watch that. We already dove into just PCA students being what she would classify as at-risk students, dealing with this hyper-competitiveness, this high anxiety, this never enough that our students are feeling, this pressure that they aren't good enough. I know as parents, we really want our kids to succeed, but we have to figure out what is the definition of success that we're going to use. Is it the world's definition of success, or is it the biblical definition of success? And so week 1, we kind of dove into that and started the conversation. This week, we're going to continue that, and we're going to get a little bit more practical in what we can do in our homes to make sure that we're giving our students the peace, the comfort, the challenge that they need to be all that God has called them to be and created them to be. And also, Erin Williams is going to remind us that a lot of this pressure is top down. And so the pressure that our kids feel isn't coming from themselves or really even their peers. It really is from us as parents. And so we need to know how to best manage that. So enjoy this second part of the conversation that we're having with Erin Williams on Never Enough. She writes about the idea that young people need sleep and they're not getting it.
Great.
And so they are tired, which, by the way, just if you want them to achieve, if you want them to perform well, and their brain is tired, they're not going to.
Right.
And so it literally is working against them by spending so much time, right, trying to cram all that information in and then showing up for a test and not doing well on it because their brains are tired. Mm-hmm. The other thing is our kids are spending a lot of time with energy drinks. Right. At 14, 15, 16 years old, and already taking in, right, tons of sugar, tons of caffeine. And I'm kind of like, what are you going to do at 25 and 30 and 40? Yeah. So she writes about that. She touches on it a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think from a parent perspective, it might be something to have a conversation with your young person about, right, are you getting enough sleep? And that's something that we can control at home.
Yeah.
And we should.
I mean, the any energy drink on the side says, like, not to be consumed for anyone under the age of 18. And I also just think I had a student come in, and she was having a little bit of an anxiety panic attack with a Celsius in her hand. I was like, let me take the Celsius, and we're going to put, like,
well, when you take the Celsius, now we're going to have an anxiety
attack.
Think
about how we fueled our body this morning and how this might contribute. But, yeah, I mean, all of those things matter. What we're putting in, how we're sleeping, but we are cramming so many things into their lives. Yeah. It's like when I'm like, you need to sleep, because everybody's, you need to rest, you need to take time for yourself. They're like, when? Right. Like, when am I supposed to do that? And so it's our jobs to advocate for the rest of our kids, for their rest, for their free time. Like, we need, they need margin in their day, and they don't have a lot of it at school. I think we can do a better job of giving them maybe some margin here at school, but they're going to take it at some time. Like, if that means taking a nap after school, and some parents are like, you need to get up and you got to do something, be productive. It's like, no, like, let them, they have to rest their bodies. To all those connections they're making during the day, all the things they're doing with their bodies and athletics, like, if we're not sleeping, none of that's connecting, like you were saying. But we also have to do a good job of, like, advocating for that for them, taking away their phones at night, letting them know, like, you can't go out after this time, like, you really, whatever it looks like for your family, and to model that ourselves, right? Yes, top down.
I love that. Paul wrote in 1 Thessalonians 5:23 that we are body, right, physical part, right? Mm-hmm. We are soul, the emotion, the will, the mind, right, and we are spirit. And I think, somehow in Christianity, we've lost the body part, right? That we are physical bodies. We're physical beings. And if you don't take care of the physical, the emotional and the spiritual, right, aren't going to overwhelm them and just say, well, it doesn't matter that you're tired. No, it does matter that you're tired. You're not going to perform as well. You're not going to think as well. You're not going to have as good of emotional control, right, if you're tired. So super, super important. You did say there's some things that we could do as a school, right? So our students are here for several hours during the day, right? There are some things that she throws out as just recommendations, suggestions, some ideas that some other schools have done. You've been around to kind of see some other schools and how do they create their spaces, right? And one of the things I really enjoy is just seeing the idea of creating space for there to be community
Yes.
and students to connect with
Yes,
other students.
yes.
So it's not just, right, they're sitting in a classroom, right? They're running down to lunch, they're going to a sport, they're going home.
Right.
But they're actually building relationships with other people, right? So tell us a little bit about what she talks about in that regard.
Just about having more community spaces. And I think we have beautiful spaces here at Prestonwood and opportunities to utilize those. And I think kids need the opportunity under adult supervision to learn how to use their free time wisely. Hey, if we're going to have this free time, we can't be rambunctious to run up and down the halls, which I don't think many of them would, maybe some, but to have these spaces where they can get together and have conversations and discuss things, or just like practice utilizing this time, being able to just have that community during the day, making sure that our teachers are kind of pushing through with this mattering portion, like, hey, how are we educating them? I think sometimes the teachers are great at teaching, and sometimes that connectedness is hard for them. So we have to help with that. But I think, giving them a little bit more margin. One counselor from another school I was talking to, they were reevaluating their schedule, and he said, kids are going to have free time. We're just going to rearrange it for them and give some of that during the day. So maybe that they're not taking as much, a little bit of downtime at school, a little bit of rest time here, just to kind of like, not rest as in napping, but rest as in like having just some free time to be with friends in communal spaces out in the sun. I think I would love for our high schoolers to be able to get out more and see some sunshine and get some vitamin D. And I think that we have the opportunity to do that. And I think our school wants to be better and do better by our students.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an important thing just to think through and evaluate. So I'm glad you're asking those questions.
Yeah.
And I want our parents to ask those questions as well. So we live in Texas, right? Let's enjoy the outdoors.
Let's enjoy it for sure.
Because we can. She also talks about, and you've kind of hit this several times, but she really focuses on it as she gets to the end of the book, is just the emotional well-being of the parent. You've talked about how a lot of these issues are top down, right? But so is the promotion of this balanced lifestyle. So the idea that, don't expect your son or daughter to put their phone away before they go to bed if you're not putting your phone away, right? But the other part is just, how can our parents have a better balance of life? She talks about the importance of developing really good relationships from a parent perspective. You and I both know that if we were talking moms versus dads, I think women probably do a better job of having good relationships, right? Girlfriends, other people that they're around. Men do a poor job with this, right? A recent study came out where they said the number one answer for men when they ask, how many good close friends do you have? The number one answer was 0. So it wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it was 0 for men.
I know, I see
right?
it.
And so that well-being of being able to take care of ourselves, we're passing on a lot of that stress, anxiety, tension to our kids without even really knowing it.
Like what I would challenge you or ask is like, what are you showing your kids? Like, if you're working all day and you have 0 adult relationships, well, what that tells me is that like, I just want you to work for some goal.
Like, just robots.
Yeah. And like, where is that? I mean, I know that it might be hard. It might take time to have friendships. It might be uncomfortable, but man, that pays off in dividends. I mean, it's going to make your life more full, less stress. And we want to show that to our kids. So I want my kids to know, like, when you are out of high school and out of college, like, I want you to have this robust life full of abundance. I want you to have friends and family, and I want you to work and do something you love. But that's not, again, my definition of success. Like, I want to see you love on people and people to love on you and have just this really full life. But I have to show them that. And I have to show them how I take care of myself or how I spend time with my friends. And my husband has to do that as well. Like, hey, what is, if my kids never see my husband with a friend, like, oh, well, guys don't have friends. Well, that's not true, but that's what we're showing them. And so I know that is difficult, but that is also you have to reprioritize your time. And again, there we go, back to like, we're showing them how to prioritize their time. If you're working all the time and you have no room for that, well, that's what you're showing your kids. Yeah. And one quote in the book, it's not a quote specific to this book, but it's like, you have to do the work in your life, whatever it is. If it's friendships, we can talk about anxiety, depression, because if you're not doing the work, your kids are going to do it for you. Generational sin, right? If I don't do this, my kids are going to have to deal with it. And they probably will to a certain extent anyway, but like, do it so they don't have to. So like, get in there if that means being with friends. And because I do think that relationships, I was telling another student today, who was talking about therapy, and I think therapy is fabulous. I'm a therapist, so yes. But I also think that the day-to-day relationships students have here, or your day-to-day relationships, can equal therapy to a certain extent, unless we're talking about huge diagnoses, if we're, major depressive disorder, anxiety, eating disorders, yes. But like the fact that on a daily basis, a student can come in here and have that conversation, they don't have to wait till their therapy session on Friday is huge, or that I can call my friend and verbally process this. But like we all need that in our lives.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you, so that was when I got to the end of the book, that's the thing that really kind of jumped out at me, is how powerful Prestonwood Christian Academy is as a community that 100%. Does so many of the things that she's writing that need to be done. And I watched that with my kids, right? So whatever I was doing at home was being duplicated at school. And coaches and teachers were reinforcing the same things that I was saying. And I think, that's such an incredible and valuable role that we get to play, walking alongside, right, parents and their families, right? I mean, for your office, right, and the other counselors at our school to be able to have a safe place where students can go in and they can, share areas of concern, or they can just be loved on, right, by, a teacher, a coach, a staff member here at PCA. And I think that's one of the things that I didn't really understand before I got to a Christian school, that those who have that Christian lens in which they see kids, right? We don't see kids as just products. We don't see, I'm teaching an English class, and I don't just see that, that student, right, as a student sitting here who's taking my English class, and I evaluate them by their grade and their effort. I see them as, right, a student who's created in the image of God, as a young man or a young woman who's got, a life that God has called for them to do. And I happen to have them in my particular class. I happen to be teaching a particular subject to them, which is great, right? But I see that so often, that so many of our staff members, right, actually have the lens that Wallace can't really talk about because she's not a Christian, but that's what she's talking about, right?
She alludes to it a lot.
Right.
This is what you should do.
How do you show somebody that they matter and give them purpose and give them meaning, and what does that look like? And she does a little bit of kind of the religion part. Is like, right, kind of, fit in there and here's a good place to go to find it. Well, yeah, a lot of those things are being done right here every day. And so that's one of the things I love about, as you read the book, right, it makes me love PCA even more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted, there was one image I just wanted to share with the parents because I feel like it was at the very beginning of the book. And it talks to a girl who I think is like a junior or a senior, and she was talking through like all the things that she's doing. She runs track and field. She is doing her college essay. She's in her AP classes. And the interviewer is just asking her, like, how do you have time to do all this? When do you sleep? She had to get up very early and like run her laps in the morning. And they're like, when you stay up till 3 a.m. studying for your AP tests, like, what do you do when you have to run track in the morning? And she said, well, on those mornings, I run my laps with my eyes shut. And that's just not what I want for my students. Right. And it almost made me tear up a little bit because I thought about this 17, 18-year-old girl so exhausted that she's closing her eyes while she's running laps. That's our kids. Yeah. They are running laps with their eyes closed. And like we have a responsibility as parents to do better. And as a school we're doing great things here. And so all of it, I mean, I serve students, but I also serve parents, and we all do. Of course, parent engagement. And we just want to come alongside and help you work through the top down, all of that. So
if I had to summarize the book, because you did earlier, if I had to summarize the book, I would say that she talks about success, right, and the pursuit after success. But as you said, right, it depends on what your definition of success is. And I kind of have a problem with Christians who use the world's definition of success, and we place that on our kids when God gives us a much different definition.
Agreed.
And so my thing is, well, let's use God's definition of success, right? And let's pursue that with the same vim and vigor that the world pursues their definition. And when they achieve whatever it is that they achieve, right, I think we celebrate and we clap and we go, that's fantastic that you got into whatever college or you did whatever thing you did. That's awesome, right? But here's what God's called me to, and here's what success looks like for my life. And it's a different definition. Yeah. And we have to be okay with that, that we're competing against a world that has a different definition of success. And I think far too often we place our kids in the world's definition, and then we wonder why they turn out the way they do.
100%.
And I'm just like, no, we have a different definition of success. So instill character and goodness and truth in them, right? And have them do as well as God has designed for them to do, right? To give their best effort while they're at school. But right, those things for them to grow, as you said, they need margin and they need space and they need conversations with, other adults who can speak those things into them. And I think that's a great place for us to be here at PCA because a lot of that happens.
Absolutely.
So, Erin, thank you for your time. Thanks for the book recommendation and just all that you offer to our community.
Go out there, play with your kids, have fun, please.
Love it. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Journey. We hope this podcast provides information to help you raise your children, and it would help us tremendously if you would like, subscribe, share, and review this content on your favorite podcast platform. It is our pleasure to provide this information to our community, and we look forward to our next time together on The Journey.